Hello artists, and welcome back to Art at Home with Mrs. Kellogg. Well, the first day of winter is fast approaching, December 21st, so I thought it would be fun to create a winter cityscape for our art lesson today. Now, meet me over at my workspace because I'm going to tell you more about the lesson and what a cityscape is, and I'm also going to tell you the materials you will be needing for today's lesson. Like I said before, we're going to create a winter cityscape. A cityscape is a picture of a city, and for example, what we're going to create is a picture of very tall buildings close to each other. And it's a winter cityscape because, as you can see, I'm going to include snow in my cityscape picture, making it a winter cityscape. Now, let me tell you the materials that we are going to use in this art project. So the first thing you will need is to put down your art mat and newspaper before you start your art project. You're going to need a pencil and paper. You can use any size you would like, just make sure it's thick enough to apply watercolor. And I'm going to use oil pastels, but you can always use crayons. Now, as you can see, I outlined all my different shapes. So that means I might need a black oil pastel, I could use a black crayon, or I could even use, if you have, a black Sharpie permanent marker, and it's a fine tip marker. But a black oil pastel or crayon will work fine. Now, part of the reason I am going to use either crayons or oil pastel is because I want to create a resist. So that means I'm going to paint watercolor all over my colors, which is a lot of fun to do. So that means you're going to need your watercolor set. You are going to need a brush. You want to make sure you have a cup, and you will be filling that with water. And you also want to make sure that you have paper towels. Now would be a great time to pause your video, get your workspace set up, get all your materials ready, and meet me back here, and we'll start creating a unique winter cityscape. Did you get your materials? Great, then let's get started. So as I said before, we're going to create a winter cityscape. And you have a lot of choices because you can have your art paper going vertical, which means like a long skinny door like here, or you could have your winter cityscape going across like a long window, and that's called horizontal. So this is horizontal, and then this way is vertical. So you decide how you would like to set up your paper. But before we start drawing our buildings in, let's have fun warming up and sketching some shapes, since we are going to use a lot of different shapes in our cityscape today. One of the shapes that I may use for the roof of my buildings is a triangle. So I am going to start sketching some triangles to warm up. So you can make them wide, thin. I know I'm going to use some rectangles. So that's another shape I would use. And I can make them long and tall, or I can make them wide and shorter. And I may even use a trapezoid shape for the roof of one of my buildings. I could even have a dome-like or curved shape. So then I could use, see how I make that rainbow line, and then that is my half circle. Now I know I'm going to put a lot of doors and windows in, so I can use a half oval and a circle for a door. I could even use the same shape and draw 2 doors. And I probably use some rectangles. Can make wide rectangles. And I can put shutters on the side if I like that idea. Use those half ovals for windows. I could even use a circle for a window. I could use tiny rectangles for windows. So those are a lot of the different shapes that I'm going to use. Now, I want to put some shingles on some of my roofs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have fun connecting some shapes. So if I wanted to use a rectangle, I can get them all to touch. And notice they're not all perfect, so you can make them all even if you like that idea, or you can, like for example, like this, I can make them kind of crooked if I like. And if I wanted to make curved shingles on my roof, see how I can use my half circle idea and just make them touch. Okay, now that I've warmed up with my shapes, I'm ready to start drawing my buildings. As you can see, I'm going to create my cityscape going vertical, up and down. So if you want to create your cityscape going horizontal across, you can do that. Now I'm going to use some big shapes to draw my buildings. And I'm going to sketch, which means I'm going to draw lightly in case I want to change any of my lines or shapes. Okay, now I've drawn my big shapes for my buildings. It's time to have some fun and add detail. Now, this is the part I really encourage you to use your own creativity. So if you want to put people in the windows or animals in the windows, feel free to add anything to your cityscape to make it your own unique piece of art. Now I've drawn most of my detail in, so it's time to trace my picture. Now would be a great time to pause the video, draw your buildings, add all the detail, trace all your shapes, and meet me back here, and we'll add some color. Did you finish drawing and tracing your cityscape? Now it's time to add some color. So I'm going to use oil pastels to add color to my cityscape. So I'm going to start by putting snowflakes in the sky. And again, you can add whatever you would like. Then my next step is I'm going to start adding color to the buildings. And you'll probably notice I'm going to leave some open spots, so when I put the watercolor over those areas, the watercolor will seep into those places. So I'm going to keep working on this and adding color to my cityscape. Now would be a great time for you to pause the video and add some oil pastel or crayon into your cityscape. And then we'll meet back here and we will use watercolor on our cityscape and into the sky. Did you finish adding either crayon or oil pastel to your buildings and some snowflakes in the sky? Great. Then let's have fun and start adding some watercolor to our winter cityscape. And remember, you don't want to dig and scoop into that paint, just using the tip of the brush. Okay, and you want to make sure you have plenty of water so that the paint will move. And oil and water don't mix, so they create a resist. So now you can start seeing those snowflakes. And then for some of the buildings, you'll notice I left some spots open, so I'm going to clean my brush, go to another color, and then I'm going to paint over those areas that are open. And then for the windows, I put some white oil pastel. I didn't fill it all the way, so it'll give it a kind of a glass-like look. And again, I can blot that out with my paper towel. And so as you can see how you can paint right over that oil pastel and it will create what's called a resist. I'm going to finish painting my cityscape, and I hope you have a lot of fun painting your cityscape. That ends our lesson. I hope you had a lot of fun creating your winter cityscape. And always remember, when you're creating art, relax, have lots of fun, and keep creating.